What's up, Endurifiers? This is Mario, and I'm back with another episode of Endurify. And today I want to talk about the concept of extreme ownership and how it's been showing up in my life and what it might mean for you. So this is something that was kind of top of mind for me after having a conversation with my manager that kind of pissed me off. And I want to talk about that. So first, if you're not familiar with the concept of extreme ownership, it is a book that was written by Jocko, Willink, and Leif Babin. And these are two former U.S. Navy SEALs that led some big missions overseas. And what they realized is the number one factor that determines whether a team succeeds or fails in the military is leadership. It all comes down to a leader. And they realized that through all of these missions and all of the mistakes that they made and all of their successes. And so what they did is they then created a consulting business where they take these lessons that they've learned through being U.S. Navy SEALs and they applied them into a business context. So it's basically leadership lessons for life or for business from two of the top U.S. Navy SEALs. And this book really is something that has resonated with me. And Jocko Willink is somebody, if you haven't heard of him, look him up right now, or maybe after the podcast, and just look up Jocko Willink, and you will get your just boost of motivation and discipline. This is a very kind of intimidating military guy. He wakes up every single morning at 4:30 and gets after it. And so that's just one thing. But this book has really resonated with me. And there's a number of different leadership principles, but the main kind of concept is extreme ownership, which means extreme ownership is kind of that practice of owning everything in your world to an extreme degree. And so it means that you're responsible not just for the tasks which you directly control, but for all of those that affect whether or not your mission is successful. So it's not just about the things that are in your direct control, but it's everything that affects whether or not your mission is successful. So where this shows up for me is I lead a team of 3 or 4 different product owners, and at our company, we build mobile and web apps for students who are studying for standardized tests. We have products for people who want to become a nurse. We have products for people who want to become a dentist, and these are big products, and the market loves them. Our users love them, and so what that means for me is anytime that somebody on my team makes a mistake or they don't follow a specific process, it's not actually their fault. I view that as my ownership of that because I didn't make the process clear to them. I didn't communicate clearly enough to them. And I didn't maybe give them enough training. So it's kind of an extreme thing. That's why it's called extreme ownership, because it's not just about the things that are directly in your control. It's about what are those things that are within the mission. And, my mission is that product team and representing the users and the business on the software team. So anyways, that is just kind of a little bit of the concept and how it's shown up. And where I've seen it show up in the past month is I was leading a project at work, and we had been pushing through it, and it was maybe a 3 or 4 week project, and we eventually released it. We released it on a Thursday, and there were just so many ups and downs, but we got it out. We got this new feature out, and I was super pumped. Then it's Saturday. It's about 5 p.m. I'm playing pickleball with Emily and my family, and we're having a good time. And then I didn't have my phone with me. So then when I get back, or after we finish up our pickleball game, Emily looks at her phone. She's like, do you have your phone? I'm like, no. She's like, people are trying to get a hold of you. There's a bunch of messages in Slack, which is our messaging channel. I've got a couple of missed calls, and I've got a couple of texts from my boss, and you need to get back. So I went back home and I saw that what was going on was we had made a mistake when we had enabled the feature. It was only supposed to be enabled for one group of users, but it was enabled for the wrong group of users. And so this had caused a big stir. And so I had to get on a Zoom call with one of our developers and with my manager, understand the issue and resolve it. And I was actually really pissed off about that. But thinking about Jocko in the back of my mind, thinking about extreme ownership, I realized this is on me as the leader. Even though I had communicated that we want this enabled for group 2 and not group 1, that message wasn't understood or communicated by the developer. And also, after communicating that, I didn't trust and verify. I didn't confirm all of the different use cases. I didn't test that out like I probably should have. I was just happy to get it done. And so that's an example of extreme ownership. So then when all of these messages are coming through in a public channel where people are saying, what's going on? How did this happen? I sent a message and said, here's what happened. Here's what we're doing to resolve it. This one's on me. I should have done X, Y, and Z. When, the ego in me is saying, this person didn't actually follow through on what I said it should do. Even though I really wanted to say that, I took extreme ownership, which is, I'm the leader of this project. This is the mission, and we didn't achieve our goal, and that's on me. So it's a hard thing to do. It's hard to get over that ego and to see yourself kind of publicly fail in a public channel like that. But I felt good about owning it and moving forward. So anyways, that was about 3 weeks ago. And then we had kind of moved on and we're moved on to separate projects. And then I have a one-on-one, I have a meeting with my manager and I'm talking about kind of how our team is doing, and he's providing some feedback on our team. And he's talking about this person's doing well. They're doing a good job at this. Another person is, needs to work on this type of thing. And so then as I'm asking more follow-up questions, he's giving feedback on my team. I ask him to give me some feedback on how I'm doing. And I asked for a rating on a scale of 1 to 10. And how am I doing? He said, well, I would give you an 8. And I said, oh, okay, that's good. What do I need to do to take it to a 10? Which is a great question to ask if you're ever trying to get feedback. He said, well, you have a lot on your plate and you've been slipping up and you've been making a few more mistakes than you normally do. And when you hear somebody say, you've been slipping up, again, that just like triggers your ego. It kind of starts to piss you off a little bit. But I was listening to the voice that was going on in my head, and I was thinking about extreme ownership, and I was like, well, I have asked for feedback. This is the feedback that I want. It's time to own that and step up. And I said, okay, like, where have I been slipping up? He said, well, a couple weeks ago, there was that thing where we enabled it on the wrong product, going back to that event from 3 weeks ago, and was still bringing it up. And then he brought up one other thing that I had done this week that I didn't communicate as well. And it was hard to hear that. It was hard to think through that and not have my ego get in the way. But it was something that eventually after the call, I was able to kind of process and really think about. This is extreme ownership. It's taking extreme ownership of the things that go well in your life, every area of your life, and every area of a specific project in your life. And this is kind of the downside of taking extreme ownership. So what I kind of want to communicate here is that you should take extreme ownership in every area of your life. But there are these downsides, because when you step up and you take that extreme ownership, people actually view that as you kind of taking the blame, and you need to be okay with that. And so that was just kind of how something I've been thinking about and something that I was feeling that I wanted to talk about this morning for you, because, as I bring it back to you, and I think about what are some of the things that you are trying to accomplish. So many of you may be may have your own business or maybe thinking about starting your own business. You're thinking about taking on an endurance challenge. You want to be the best husband or wife or spouse or significant other. And my question for you is, are you taking extreme ownership for those different areas in your life? And if you are, like, are you ready to deal with the kind of the consequences of that? And if not, if this is a new concept for you with extreme ownership, then I highly recommend checking out the book, Extreme Ownership. There's like 12 different leadership principles, and it all comes down to leadership. And there's no bad teams, only bad leaders. That was one of the ones that really comes to mind for me that jumps out. And the other one is check the ego, which is something that I had to do in this situation. And there's a number of them. It's like prioritize and execute, decentralize command. I'm getting excited just thinking about it. I might actually reread this book just to refresh myself. But that is kind of what I'm thinking about today. And it's all about extreme ownership. And are you taking extreme ownership for the things in your life? And if so, are you prepared to kind of deal with the consequences of that? So it's just something I've been thinking about and wanted to share that with you all. And I hope that served you. And I wish you the best of luck with everything that you have going on with endurance challenges, with business, with your family, whatever that is for you. But that's what I have for today, and I will talk to you guys later.